Hello everyone, Andy Wolverton here with the second installment of my Alfred Hitchcock project. You can check out the first installment by clicking on the link in the notes, but the last time I covered Hitchcock's first 5 films. Today, I'll take a look at the next 5: The Ring, The Farmer's Wife, Champagne, The Manxman, and his first sound feature, Blackmail. Let's get started. First we have The Ring. Alfred Hitchcock made a boxing picture? Yes, it happened. So is it a knockout, or should you throw in the towel after just a couple of rounds? After the disappointing Easy Virtue, which we looked at last time, Hitchcock moved from Gainsborough Pictures to British International Pictures, which brought him more creative freedom, including casting decisions, and superior facilities to work with. With a larger budget, Hitchcock was able to construct more believable sets and, with the help of cinematographer Jack Cox, bring some visual elements of German expressionism into The Ring. So at a local carnival, a barker invites any gentleman from the audience to step up and get in the ring with the undefeated one-round Jack Sander, played by Carl Brisson, who's earned his nickname by finishing off all of his opponents in one round. Jack notices Mabel, the ticket taker, played by Lillian Hall Davis, enticing a young man in the audience to challenge Jack. Well, one round clearly has his eye on Mabel, perhaps for a different type of round. So this could lead to a competition inside and outside the ring. The young challenger Corby, played by Ian Hunter, accepts the challenge and climbs into the ring with Jack. Now, as even audiences of 1927 would suspect, we're being set up for a love triangle, or a ring, if you will, between Jack, Mabel, and Corby. And it's an engaging one, and Hitchcock was quite pleased with this film. I won't go into the details, leaving you to see the film for yourself, which is available in a number of ways, but you'll find the best version on the Kino Lorber release Hitchcock British International Pictures Collection 5-film Blu-ray set. This edition of The Ring is also has a audio commentary by Nick Pinkerton. Highly recommend that. Next up, we have The Farmer's Wife. Now, after releasing 6 films, Hitchcock had directed dramas, a thriller, and a boxing picture. So what would he come up with next? How about a rom-com? The Farmer's Wife begins with tragedy as we find Tibby Sweetland, played by Molly Ellis, the wife of Sam Sweetland, played by Jameson Thomas, on her deathbed. Tibby urges Sweetland to remarry, but her husband is too distraught to think of such things. After his wife departs this world and his daughter marries, Sweetland is all alone on his farm, except for 2 servants, the clownish curmudgeon Churtles Ash, played by Gordon Harker, and the housekeeper Minta, played by Lillian Hall Davis, whom we saw in The Ring. At his daughter's wedding party, all eyes look on Sweetland, and we know that everyone wonders when the farmer is going to remarry. Sweetland soon asks Minta to help him prepare a list of hopefuls. When they come up with the names of 4 women, we know what's going to happen next. Sweetland will methodically work his way through every name on the list until finally, no, I won't tell you. But I will tell you that Gordon Harker nearly steals the show as Sweetland's farmhand. Ash scornfully dispenses such marital advice as, "Holy matrimony is a proper steamroller for flattening the hope out of a man and the joy out of a woman." Don't go to this guy for marriage counseling. Although the film was based on a play, Hitchcock keeps things interesting, something he would not do in another adaptation of a play, which we'll get to next time. The Farmer's Wife is delightful and something we don't expect from Hitchcock, rather sweet. This one is also available on the same Hitchcock British International Pictures collection that I mentioned earlier. So, we're 2 for 2. Let's see what happens when we open up the Champagne from 1928. Now, Hitchcock was pleased enough with The Farmer's Wife to tackle another comedy, Champagne, about a young heiress named Betty, played by Betty Balfour, who finds herself in all sorts of shenanigans. Betty is so eager to see her boyfriend, and even more eager to anger her overbearing father, played by Gordon Harker, that she uses her dad's airplane to meet the boyfriend who's traveling on an ocean liner headed to France. But the unnamed boyfriend isn't able to enjoy his reunion due to seasickness. Yet the fun's not over for Betty. Oh no. She finds an older man on the ship, played by Theo von Alten, who seems to have a thing for Betty. Then up pops Betty's dad to spoil all her fun, breaking the news that the family fortune has been a casualty of the stock market. Even worse, Betty's going to have to earn her own living. Much of the rest of the film chronicles Betty's attempts to adjust to a hard life absent of leisure. Even after making only his sixth film, The Ring, just 1 year earlier, Hitchcock was now the highest paid director in England. And one might think that this distinction would give him a fair amount of control over his pictures, but the director would have to wait a bit longer for that. The shooting script for Champagne changed radically from its original conception, so much so that Hitchcock looked upon the project as little more than an exercise, a way to hone his craft. Many of its scenes feel like rehearsals for future Hitchcock pictures. A dream sequence conveying forced sexuality foreshadows Marnie, and glamorous scenes of wealth and luxury bring to mind To Catch a Thief. Champagne contains several good moments and a few laughs, but more importantly, we see Hitchcock experimenting with camera placement, composition, pacing, lighting, and much more. Essentially, he's gathering tools for his toolbox, and like any master, he's going to learn exactly when and how to use each one. Also part of the British International Pictures Collection, this one has an excellent audio commentary from Farron Smith-Namey. Moving on to The Manxman from 1929. Hitchcock may have considered The Manxman, his last fully silent picture, to be somewhat banal, but he continues to refine his skills, delve deeper into character, and provide his audiences with hints of the greatness that would fully emerge in his subsequent films. In an English port town, a group of local fishermen are upset that fishing trawlers are encroaching on their livelihood. One of the fishermen, named Pete, played by Carl Brisson, asks his longtime friend and attorney, named Philip, played by Malcolm Keane, to draft a petition for the group. Now, both Pete and Philip are smitten with Kate, played by Annie Andra, who is the pub owner's daughter, and they probably have both been smitten with her for quite a while, yet their relationship has suffered no ill effects. Until now. Encouraged by a new sense of confidence in bringing about the petition, Pete works up the courage to ask Kate's gruff father for her hand in marriage. But her father says, "No way, you are a penniless lout, out of here." More determined than ever, Pete pledges to sail to Africa, get rich, and return, proving his worth. And while Pete's away, Philip will spend a little more quality time with Kate. Well now. The Manxman may not be a great Hitchcock film, but it is a good one that stands on its own merits. It also points out the greatness that Hitchcock would show in the years to come. The British International Pictures Collection, once again, has another great audio commentary from Farron Smith-Namey. And that brings us to Blackmail from 1929. Although Blackmail is Hitchcock's first sound film, he understands that the film's opening will be stronger without sound, and he's right. Hitchcock creates suspense by withholding any spoken dialogue for these first several minutes. It grabs our attention and keeps it all the way up until the final frame. And as we will see throughout his career, Hitchcock, at least on film, knows when to be silent. Our story involves Alice White, Annie Andra once again. We find Alice patiently waiting for her boyfriend Frank, played by John Logden, a Scotland Yard detective. As soon as they're seated at a local tea house, the fighting begins. Frank wants to see a new film called Fingerprints, but Alice is not interested. Frank leaves in disgust, but Alice is not going to leave the tea room alone. No. She's greeted by a man named Crew, played by Cyril Richard, an artist who can't wait to show Alice his apartment studio. After a few minutes there, shenanigans ensue, followed by a struggle, and we see Alice reaching for a knife. In the aftermath, we see the film's most famous shot, with Alice holding the knife, stunned at what's just happened. The act of blackmail actually takes a backseat to the murder, but what Hitchcock does with the blackmail and leading up to it provides an opportunity for the audience to experience how the murder affects Alice as she begins to see and hear accusations everywhere. The repetition of the word knife in a famous scene provides one of Hitchcock's greatest moments in his early sound filmography. Blackmail is a terrific picture, and I hope you'll check it out. In my blog post about the film, I discuss the Kino Lorber Blu-ray, which includes both the silent and sound versions of the film, as well as their problems. But don't let that keep you from picking up this one. So that's going to do it for this time. Join me again in a few weeks when I take a look at the next 5 titles in Hitchcock's filmography. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.